Right, so hi guys. I know we've done this a little bit before, but every week I kind of look on the internet and I try and find something that is talking about the RX10 Mark V, the RX10 Mark IV's replacement. Hoping into 2020 that something's going to happen. And this code pops up every now and again, and it talks about it in December. Is it going to be the RX10 Mark V? Or are they going to call it something else? Who knows? That's if they're actually going to make it. It could be possibly another APS-C camera. It could be a full frame, like a cheaper full frame entry level body. Who knows? But every week, I look online. I try and scan through rumour pages and things like that, see if anybody's actually got some real info. And a lot of the time, you just read stuff like this and you think, okay, I don't even know what that don't even know what it means. And all these numbers and letters and things like that. Who knows what they really mean? And also there's other things like rumour cameras from this year, so 2020, what's coming up. Obviously we've got the A9 II, we've got the A7R4 already. Are we going to get the RX1R Mark III, which is obviously the full frame small all-in-one camera with fixed lens? Even if they bother making it, I don't know if that was a flop or not. But also you've got obviously the Sony Rx10 Mark V, and that's kind of what we're really waiting for. But they're also obviously still talking about the A7S III, which may just jump to the A7S Mark IV, depending on what they really do with that. We don't really know. It could be some more APS-C bodies or whatever, like this says here. But in the real world, what we're looking at is the RX10 Mark V, and I think out of all of those cameras up there, that is the most usable body you can buy. The A7 IV, if that does come out, will be an updated version, obviously A7 III, but that's still an interchangeable lens camera. But having a fixed multi-zoom, good sized camera which is so usable, and there's a lot of RX10 users out there from the Mark 1 right to the Mark 4 who maybe are starting to think, okay, well, I probably could do with an upgrade. Do I wait and just do I buy the Mark 4 now, or is the 5 really coming and stuff like that? I know people are worried. I know the price has dropped nicely now, so it's actually quite a nice price. But when it first came out at £1,800, it was expensive, but you do get what you pay for. And to be honest, the RX10 Mark IV is worth every single penny, even if you bought it slightly cheaper, or at full price, which I did when it came out. I got lucky; I got an early one, but it was worth every single penny, all day long. And mine's coming up to 3 years old in October, and mine has been abused. I mean, it's been bashed on the floor, it's been covered in mud, it's been covered in salt, it's been covered in water, it's been splashed by the waves in the sea. It's been completely and utterly abused. It's covered in scratches. Even though the screen isn't, everything else is a bit tatty. It's got sand in between the zoom dial and the focus ring. There's a tiny little bit in there I can't get out, unfortunately, but it doesn't stop it working. It's still absolutely fine, and it's never given up the ghost. Nothing's packed up. Everything is still working. All I do is keep it clean. And it just shows you how good that camera really is. I know there's going to be some unlucky people out there who've had them that actually have broken on them or stopped working randomly, and I know that the hairdryer little cheat that I suggested to a few people has helped when you get sticky buttons, things like that. A little bit of warmth in there can actually loosen off grease and sticky stuff and get it working again. And a couple of people I've seen recently who've had the lenses just basically stop working. There's a pressure sensor inside, so if you actually have your camera turned on and you stand it up on its nose, just gently push down on the camera, it won't zoom in and out after that, because it's basically pushed obviously some kind of inertia switch or something. You have to turn it back off and then back on again, and it will reset itself. I worked that out myself when I was cleaning the filter at the end, once it was covered in salt, I think, or salt and spray from being down at the beach, and I had it still turned on. And I thought, well, wait, it won't zoom anymore, what's going on? And I turned it off, it retracted, and then came back, and it was absolutely fine. So I realised, obviously, there's some kind of safety net in there that obviously stops the lens motors getting damaged. So that's something to sort of remember. But yeah, like I say, we've talked about this before. I've done a couple of videos about the RX10 Mark V, and it's a case of, what are they going to do? I mean, I would imagine now we've got to the technology jump 3 years down the line. Onto the A9 II now and the A7R Mark IV. We've got some seriously powerful computers. From all of the different makes out there, from Nikon and Canon and everything like that. The processing power of these cameras now is bonkers. So there's plenty of options. So having a camera now that could be maybe a 30 megapixel sensor, still the 1-inch sensor, unless they squeeze a APS-C sensor in there and make the lens slightly bigger, giving you more megapixels, but actually keeping the lens roughly the same size, same length. It gives you, slightly better quality, but also the ability to crop in a bit later as well. So you're not really losing the quality that you've already got. You just get a bit more zoom range, a little bit like you can do on the A7R Mark IV with obviously its huge resolution. So you could, if you've got 400 millimeters or whatever on the A7R4, you can actually put it in crop mode and still have 26. So if there's an option like that, you can actually still get some amazing shots with a slight crop. But that's another option. The bigger battery, that's got to be done. There's plenty of room in the grip anyway on the RX10 Mark IV, so I don't think there's much of an issue having a bigger battery in there, because the grip size is big enough to hold that battery anyway. I've sort of held it underneath and went, actually, there's probably enough room in there with a little bit of redesign. So there's lots of options, and I know what they're going to do is probably going to be great. But technology has moved along in 3 years or so. Looking at cameras back 3-4 years ago, yeah, we had eye autofocus on the A7R2 and things like that, which was still newish back then. But now, it's so fast, tracks moving subjects from dogs, cats, humans, whatever. Even the phones are doing it, which is completely pointless on the phone because the sensor's so small. Pretty much everything's in focus anyway. So it's more of a gimmick on the phones. But they're all usable tools, and I think the biggest thing you need to make sure you do is you buy the right camera for yourself. And there's all these different cameras out there, different makes or whatever, that offer all these different tools and specs that do you need them, don't you need them, or anything like that. And you just get used to what you use at the end of the day, and it's all down to a certain budget. I understand that, but it's a case of where do you stop? Does technology going to keep going and going and going to the fact that we're not really taking pictures anymore? Because I've really slowed my editing down, so basically I hardly ever edit now at all. So any of the shots you see on my photos are maybe a couple of blemishes retouched. I generally don't touch skin at all. I'm just maybe adjusting the levels, and that's it. That's all I generally do. I'm trying to keep my photos now as realistic as possible. Keeping that realism in a photo, I think, is important. There can be so many fake looking images out there because they've been so overworked, and that's one of the problems with the mobile phones. They're very, very good, but all the mobile phones are now using AI and everything like that to help give you a soft background, rather than, because they can't physically blur a background out because their sensors are so small, and their depth, there's so much depth in the photos, and you're looking at basically fake bokeh half the time, and it doesn't get it perfect, but you can really tell the difference when you see a real lens giving you that real effect. There's that's the difference. Obviously these bigger cameras, obviously they are always going to be better, even though the mobile phone side of things are actually really, really good for general use, because you can't really get it wrong, because you've got so much depth there. 95% of the people out there can take an amazing photo, and they're thinking, oh my god, look at that, and they're all going on Facebook or Instagram, so it's not really going to be an issue. But when you start looking at professional levels and things like that, and being used for large prints and large displays and things like that, that's where the difference, where you need the larger cameras with the bigger sensors and different lenses and things like that. But we can talk on and on and on and on about different cameras and things like that, but that RX10 Mark V, I think, is going to be a fundamental jump into the next level of different cameras, I think. And where do we go with this? I know there's going to be a bigger battery in it, because they're not going to keep that older, smaller one, there's no need, because they've now got that bigger, better battery we've got in the A7R4 and A7R3, and also the A9, A9 II, and A7 III. But the processing power, the speed of the autofocus has gone quicker even more since the last couple of years. And it's also the ISO control and things like that. But it doesn't really bother me too much. A little bit of grain sometimes really adds to the picture. We're looking at a clean, perfect image all the time, and I don't think that really matters. I mean, they're so good anyway. All of these cameras out there, a little bit of noise or a little bit of grain or whatever can actually add to your photo. And I think we pixel peep. That's another major issue. How often do you go, oh, I'm just going to zoom in and see, oh, it's all pixely. Yeah, it's because you're looking at it so close that it's showing the pixels. So zoom back out, stand back a bit like you would do if you hung your picture on a wall, or you're sitting there watching it on a TV or whatever. Oh look, I can't see any pixels. There you go, sorted. So I think we are a bit OCD about the amount of grain or pixelation or noise or whatever you want to call everything, and I think we worry too much. It's one of those things. I think it's part of it. It's a digital image at the end of the day, and we never moaned back when it was film and we were using a higher ISO film. The grainy shots, we never really moaned about them. We just looked at it and thought, that's awesome. It's black and white. Looks great. It's a little bit grainy. It really adds to it. And I think that's where it's missing. We've digital cameras have a certain look. They're much sharper generally than film was. They seem to be today anyway. Everything seems to be bang on perfect. The optics are obviously better than the old lenses, and it just everything is better generally. But is it? That's one of the questions out there. The the way it's all heading is technology is just going mad. And do we want to lose the love of photography compared to everything sort of taking photos for you before you've even taken the picture? It's already taken it just in case you wanted it, kind of thing. You're like, well, it's not really the fun or the purpose of photography. The purpose of photography, obviously, in some respects, yes, it's a professional job, but a lot of us do it either as a professional job and as a hobby, and something we love doing. Photography for a lot of people is, a stress reliever. If you work in an office or work as in chefing or another high, or as a nurse or a doctor or something that's there's other many jobs out there that are high stress jobs. Going out with your camera for a walk or whatever, just for an hour, once a week or twice a week or even more, can reduce your stress levels massively, because you can be creative, you can think about other things, and I've seen it change people. It's chilled them out, it's given them a bit of confidence. There's people out there with learning difficulties and other things like that come to art. They could be painting, they could be taking photos, drawing, whatever, all these different arts out there, and one of them being obviously photography, can really help people. And I think that's where one of the biggest things is, we must keep it going, is because it's helpful to so many different sorts of people. And I know for a fact, I love going out, even if I'm on my own, just going around trying to be creative and just relaxing and taking pictures and trying to get that better photo than I took before, or something slightly different, something I've never done before, even though it may have been shot before by someone else. You've seen a lot of photos of the castle, Bodiam Castle. I love it there. It's a relaxing place to go and visit, and at different times of the year and different times of the day, it always looks slightly different. Yes, the castle still looks the same, as in it's four corners of a castle with turrets and a moat and everything like that, but it can look so different at different times of the year and different times of the day that it's always interesting. And then obviously there's the wildlife and things like that. So I could go on and on and on, but it's just something to think about, I think. And I think that with all these new cameras coming out, I think we should really think about, do we need it? Do we need the specs that they're shouting at? Or does your previous camera still cover it? The only reason I will really ever upgrade is because I think I use mine a lot, and like I said before, it's not a case of having the newest best one. Obviously, for me now on YouTube, I'm trying to help people, and I can review it quite quickly. Once I get one, and hopefully help others make a decision if they want it or not. But also see what you can get from it. But the RX10 Mark IV is still amazing. I think it's one of the best cameras I've ever bought, and I've owned loads of cameras over the years. But as one of the most usable tools I've ever owned, it's probably the best camera out there for that. And I think it changed my view on going full frame only, thinking it's only a 1-inch sensor. But I'll tell you what, it's blown me away on some of the photos I've got, and it's got for me some of the photos I've captured I could have never ever have shot with a full frame camera. It doesn't matter what make it was. I would have missed the shot, missed the opportunity. So anyway, I know I've blabbered on for 15 minutes now, or 16 minutes almost, guys, but I don't know, I was just thinking, and I thought, sometimes it's better just to talk shit, and hopefully we can hear about the Rx10 Mark V coming soon, which gives us an opportunity to see exactly what they might be putting into it, and is it going to be worth the upgrade from the Rx10 Mark IV? That's the most important thing. And like I say, mine's 3 years old soon, coming into October, so a few more months yet, but is it going to last that long? That's the question, because it's had some serious use and abuse. Anyway, guys, don't forget to click the subscribe button, and please click the notification bell. Also, feel free to comment below. We'll see what you think. Any questions, obviously ask away, or any comments about what you expect the Rx10 Mark V to have, and any issues you've had with the Rx10 Mark IV. It helps others, I know that. So anyway, I shall see you soon.